You have been ducking the Zoo family for years. You finally get your opportunity. You've been talking all this trash, and what do? You get a slight little knock, a little headbutt, accidental, a tiny little cut on your eye.
I saw some whispers going around on Twitter the last few days that, I don't know if you saw this, Jorge Masvidal is the rumoured new contender for Conor. They ruled out Michael Chandler. Oh, here we go. We are finally underway. The Throwing Shade podcast episode 1 is here. I know you told me not to clap all along, boy, but I've gone with it. Where are we? We're the 18th of January. We're filming this. We're here in lovely Camberwell of Victoria, of Melbourne, Australia. 6 months under the belt of practice episodes. There's been a lot go into it, which we're going to touch on, but episode 1 of the Throwing Shade podcast is officially here. We're so excited. It's an exciting time of year, a new year, plenty of exciting stuff coming up with sport, a lot of exciting stories to tell you about myself and my co-host Aaron over here. But firstly, thank you to everyone who's tuned in, who's followed us so far. And yeah, we just can't wait to build on this. But Aaron, as I touched on, we're a few months under our belts of practice now. How you feeling that we're here? This is the real deal, brother. We're here. How you feeling?
Tucker bags, it's like you said, it's taken us a while, from a few drunk conversations one night out to finally getting a podcast studio, getting all the gear and having a crack. I'm so excited, mate. It's going to be awesome. We do probably have all the gear and no idea, but hey, we're making it up as we go, and I'm pumped, mate. Let's get cracking into it.
Bloody oath. And as I touched on, there's been a few funny stories of what it's taken us to get here, and yeah, you touched on that. This is one of those things that we spoke about a lot when we were at the pub, watching mainly the UFC and fights, as we're going to be no doubt known for having heavy commentary on the UFC. But that's where these ideas began. That's where the story began with myself, Aaron, and a heap of other mates that would get together at the pubs. We'd always be those blokes that are sitting there saying, yeah, we should start a podcast. We've got group chats, which we're just talking sport about non-stop. The banter's high, good vibes. So yeah, that's what led us here. But it wasn't smooth sailing, Aaron, just to get here to where we are today. It had its ups and downs in our trial series and our trial episodes, which will give you guys a bit of an insight into of what the trial episodes looked like, because there's a bit of fun along the way. Paulie, what are your memories of trial episodes, going up to apartments and sitting on couches, filming on phones, microphones that didn't work? Give me some of your highlights of the journey so far.
Yeah, Tucker bags. I'm glad you asked. It's been a journey, that's for sure. Obviously, when we first started, we had no idea, where to do it. What even is a podcast studio? So we started at a mate's house on a couch, just full of cat hair. So that was nice. So covered in cat hair, not really knowing what we're doing. It was pretty embarrassing looking back at it. We had a little handheld mic that would pass between us, which as you can imagine, didn't sound great. Now we've got these bad boys, so hopefully hearing us a bit clearer than the trials. But yeah, it was a lot of fun. Obviously, we had no idea what we're doing, but I felt after that like we had the chemistry. It was interesting enough, and that's why we pulled the trigger. And yeah, that's why we're here now, Tucker bags.
Bloody oath, mate. Completely agree with you. But yeah, as cringe as it looked, and as cringe as it is looking back at those videos, they're great memories, and they're going to be part of the story. Yeah. I am working on some bloopers and some TikToks and things like that of the journey so far, which I'll compile together to show our fans and our audience, just to get a bit of an insight into it. But yeah, as you touched on, we're in a studio now. We've got the professional setup, the good audio, the good visuals. We've got multiple cameras. We've got a logo. There's a lot that's gone into producing this podcast, which I'm pretty proud about. But I'm going to throw a little bit of shade, just as a bit of a teaser, Aaron, just as a little bit of a starting note. Throw a little bit of shade at you, mate. I love that we spent 6 months organising this podcast. We've done trial episodes. I've been working on run sheets. I've developed a logo. I've organised these studios for us. And I get a phone call 2 days ago. Two days ago. We're Sunday the 18th of January at the moment. I get a phone call on Friday from Aaron going, Tuckers, don't freak out. I've got a few ideas about this podcast, about what we can do with it. I'm like, all right, here we go. what do you got for me, Aaron? He goes, I think what we do is we film it in blocks. We film 10-minute segments. We film it over the course of a full day. We do retakes where it doesn't look good. We get professional lighting. We do segments. We're going to do stuff about conspiracy theories and about festivals. What do you think? And I said, fuck, Aaron, that's not the podcast we planned for, but I love your enthusiasm. But, you know, I'm quite chuffed that you think I'm a fucking Warner Brothers studio producer that can put all this together. But, yeah, just a little bit of shade to you, mate, for the stress you caused me on Friday.
Fair enough, Tucker Bags. I'll take that shade on board. I did try and completely rock the boat and flip the script, so apologies for that. But, mate, I'm a butterfly. Let me spread my wings, you know what I mean? You got to harness this creativity.
Love it, Aaron. Look, I'm only taking the piss out of you, mate, because I think our audience, you'll come to know that we've got our own sorts of personalities. Aaron's a very big personality. For those of you who don't know him, you won't forget him. I guarantee you that. There's a lot of people that are listening to this probably in the early stages who do know the real Aaron Ball, and yeah, he's a lot of fun. So it's going to be a good journey on this podcast. But look, we will get into some content shortly and give you a bit of an insight into what the podcast is actually going to be about. But we might as well do a bit of a background on ourselves, Bally, and who we are, and I guess why we're doing this podcast. Just for sort of our reflections, and just be good for us to have a chat about why we're doing it, because like I touched on, a lot of people have the idea to do a podcast and a lot of people don't follow through with it. A lot of people don't stick with podcasts once they start them, which is, I hope, what is not the case with us. We want this to be something which is long-standing and is around for years, and hopefully we can build an audience and a community. But for myself, Ben Tucker, one of the hosts of the Throwing Shade podcast, known Aaron and the crew who have developed this podcast for quite a long time now. It's been 10 plus years. We started working together in sport, actually at an AFL club. We were manning the membership desks together. I got the privilege of being lined up next to Aaron Ball on my first day of working in that membership office, and yeah, we've been good mates ever since. And yeah, a lot of genuine good stories and good times that we've had over the years. For myself, got a young family, got a fiance, Britt, who we're hoping to get married later this year. Got a 16-month yesterday, 2 days ago on the 16th, a 16-month-old baby boy, Brooks, who is a real big highlight of my life at the moment, and I guess the audience will hear a lot about his development over the coming years. But young family. My full-time job is I manage a labour hire business here in Victoria. We're a national provider, but great business. Great company to work for. Sport has always been a really big passion of mine, and I guess one of the main reasons why I want to do this podcast is because it gives me that sense of satisfaction about being in sport again. The UFC is something that is a real big passion of mine, and something that's really delivered me a lot of enjoyment over the past few years. And I guess one of the main reasons why I want to do this podcast is to dip the toes back in the water with sport, spend a bit of time with the great man Bagos, and see what we can build, have a crack, and just see what we can achieve together, mate. So give us a rundown of yourself, Bally. Give us your story, how you found yourself here, and I guess why you want to do this podcast.
Yeah, love it, Tucker Bags. He's very modest, Tuckers. He's pretty much the sole editor and producer of this show. So he's managing a child and a wife and a full-time job. So hats off to you, Tucker Bags. But yes, getting into Bally. Name's Aaron, or Bally. People call me Azza. I'm a one-eyed Collingwood supporter. I do have all my own teeth, so hopefully you don't hold that against me that I'm a Collingwood man. But I'm very passionate. I bleed black and white. A little background about me quickly. I moved over to England to work for Manchester City Football Club, which was an amazing experience, and got to really peek behind the curtain in the inner sanctum. Then I came back, worked at the Australian Open, where I was kind of hosting clients, and now I'm working at one of the biggest betting agencies in Australia. So yeah, hopefully with all that experience and insights, I'll be able to talk some sense and hopefully a few interesting stories. Besides that, mate, obviously I'm a mad karaoke man. So those that do know me, they've probably heard TNT once or twice, blown a few rooftops off a few pubs. No problems there. I've got a sausage dog named Arthur, who is the biggest menace, but I love him so much. He's the man. And I love to kind of take the piss out of people. I love, have a bit of a joke and make people laugh. So hopefully in this podcast, I'll be doing that.
Yeah, fair. Good background and good insight, Aaron. But just an important question, just branching off just what you introduced about your love for Collingwood. What round do you see the cliff coming where the age is going to catch up with you in 2026? When's the show over for Collingwood this year, Paulie? For those of you who don't know, I failed to mention in my preamble, I'm a diehard Essendon supporter, so naturally I've got this big rivalry with Collingwood fans, and a lot of my mates know that it's a bit of a hobby of mine is staring up the Collingwood fans. So for the listeners out there, I hope I don't rub too many people up the wrong way with that. But yeah, when's the cliff coming, Aaron? And I guess as an Essendon supporter, I'm not overly optimistic about our prospects for this season, but I'd love to give you a bit of shit about Collingwood this year, mate. What's the year going to look like?
Well, ladies and gentlemen, it's only taken him 8 minutes of the podcast to start giving Collingwood crap. It's very rich from Tuckers. He goes for probably one of the worst side in the last 2 decades. They've been irrelevant in the AFL, and he still has the nerve to poke fun at my Collingwood. Mate, you just look at your own background and change your bloody coach again. How about you do that, champ?
Okay.
The Pies, funny, yes. Yeah, they were a bit old, but I'm seeing us top 6, worst case top 8. If everything goes right and a miracle happens, top 4. But we've still got enough talent, so I don't know if I'll be sniggering yet. Maybe if we lose Dacos, you can poke fun at me. But I'm still pretty bullish on my Pies. So, yeah, how do you like those apples?
Yeah, fair call, mate. Fair call. Well, look, I mean... as an Essendon supporter, there's not much I can say to that at the moment. But yeah, 6 weeks out from footy ball, that's pretty exciting. So it's going to be plenty of content that we roll out, no doubt, this year with regards to AFL being one of our biggest passions between the two of us. But I think, Aaron, you wanted to touch on a bit of a goal and an aspirational challenge you've got for yourself for 2026 before we get into the nitty-gritty of sport. As we know, we've touched on at the start that the audience is really going to get to know our personalities and a bit about us, and I guess a bit about our goals for the year ahead. What have you got planned for this year, Bally? What's 2026 got in store for us?
Yeah, correct, Tucker Bags. Bally's been enjoying the off-season a little bit too much. I do host clients, so 5-course meals, drinking wine. Let's say Bally's put a few kegs on. So my plan is I'm going to try and lose 11 kilos in 11 weeks. By doing this program that has been put together for me. Paddy the Baddie is my inspiration. The man goes from having a 12-pack to blowing out and being, as fat as a house after he fights. So I'm probably more looking like Paddy than maybe like a Michael Chandler at the moment. But the plan is stick to this. I don't want to call it a diet. I want to call it more just of a lifestyle change. So any of you guys out there or ladies that have, struggling a little bit as you get a bit older, putting on some weight, I'm going to be going through a bit of a diary of what I'm doing, the ups, the downs, the hard times, any little tips and tricks that I learn along the way, whether that's through diet, whether that's through working out, fitness. So it should be a lot of fun. We'll do it before and after, so you'll see my sloppy rig and then hopefully me chiseled with an 8-pack. And yeah, I hope everyone can keep me honest and write in if you've got any questions about how it's going.
Yeah, cool, Aaron. Love that. No, I'll never give you shit, mate, for trying to better yourself and trying to get in shape. It's something that's a real big passion of mine as well. And one thing that I want to do this year, and it's on my bucket list, is, last year my bucket list and my New Year's resolution was to run a marathon, which I did it, but I got nowhere near the time that I wanted to do. So I'm penciling in another one for later this year in July as well. So that's my big one that I'm going to touch on and bring the audience up to speed with. So yeah, a couple of personal goals for the boys that we're going to hopefully bring people along for the journey with for us. But look, just before we get into the nitty gritty of the sports content that's coming up, I do just really want to touch on why we're doing this show. I gave a little bit of an insight into me and why I want to do it a little bit bit earlier. But yeah, 2025 for me it was a bit of a tough year with work, to be honest. I had a lot going on with work. It's a really high pressure and high volume business that I work for. Obviously a new dad, young family that I'm supporting, and it's a great experience, and I've loved nothing more than being a dad. It's just a really big year, 2025. So the back half of the year, the planning that we put into this, getting together to watch the fights, that was something that's a really good outlet for me personally. And this is a natural extension of that. And I touched on my background in sport and my love for sport. So for me, this is going to keep me balanced. This is going to keep me giving me something outside of work and family to look towards and work on. And yeah, for me, mate, I just love getting together with the boys, love talking shit, love talking sport, love taking the piss out of Collingwood and yourself. So that's my why. What's yours, Paulie?
Yeah, Tucker's very similar, mate. Like, obviously not down the family side of things. I haven't quite ventured into that yet. But for me, it's probably obviously being best mates together. It's a great opportunity to catch up. It gets harder and harder these days to catch up when you're over 30. So I love just coming in the studio and having a bit of a laugh. But I'm also, I was born for the camera, Tucker Bags. I'm here to hopefully make a bit of a fool of myself, laugh with me, laugh at me. I don't mind. And I also want to build like a really fun community. There's so many people out there. I know when I first got into MMA and UFC, I didn't really know where to go, where to get the content, where to watch it. I felt a bit awkward going to the pubs by myself. And then finally, obviously, meeting, getting into it with you boys. And now I just love it, and I love the community around it. So hopefully with this podcast, all you people out there that are into it or a bit curious, have a listen, enjoy the content, and hopefully come to the pub with us at some stage. And I guess the other one is probably just to challenge the norms of the podcast space. There's a lot of podcasts out there that, maybe a little bit boring, or they sit on the fence, where I want to be, say it how it is. We're going to be controversial. You and me, we've got that dynamic where you're going to give me shit, I'm going to give you shit. We're not always going to talk, line up. And I think that's why it'll be pretty fun.
100%, Aaron. Well, that's it's a great start and a great introduction to the Throw and Shade podcast. So let's get into it, Aaron, because we are into 2026 now, where we're nearly 3 weeks in. We've touched on many times that we've got a deep love for combat sports, in particular the UFC and mixed martial arts. For those fans out there that do love the UFC, it's been a bit of a dry spell. Been a few weeks off. I think it's been 6 weeks off by the time next Saturday rolls around, where we have the UFC returning. We've got a new broadcast partner, which is bringing the content through to us in Paramount Plus. We're going to talk a little bit about what that looks like for Australians and how you consume that content here in Australia. But we are back. We have got Las Vegas. We've got UFC 324 next Sunday, the 24th of January. Sunday here in Australia, Saturday the 24th over in the States. Huge card. They've stacked it. I feel like this week we are really going to be hearing a lot more, and you're already seeing a lot of social content come out about the fights, and you're starting to learn a little bit more about the fighters. You're starting to hear what the broadcast lineups are going to look like. So we're really into the swing of things now. Now that we're only a few days away from UFC 324, I do just want to touch on we've clearly it's a little bit of a sour start to the year, Aaron, with the fact that probably lost the best fight on this card, which is a little bit of a sour point, but we've lost Kayla Harrison and Amanda Nunes, which I think a lot of people really thought was the people's main event on this card. We've lost that. So we'll just quickly touch on it because, probably the biggest fight in women's history we were being sold, and I think a lot of people were really looking forward to this one. You got any thoughts on what we can expect from either Kayla or Amanda over the next few months? How'd you feel once we heard that this one was pulled from the card?
Yeah, Tuckers, mate, as you just explained, I was absolutely devastated. Like, we're finally going to get, the GOAT versus the up-and-comer that's, shown so much promise, dual Olympic medalist, someone that I thought maybe could actually, take Amanda on, and then waking up with the news that obviously she's out. She's going to be out for 6 months plus. A couple of bulging discs. It's just a disaster, mate. And where to now? Like, do we put someone in that fight and Amanda fights again? But I think she only really wants to fight Kayla. There's no real other. I just don't see any other fight.
Yeah.
What about you?
Yeah, no, I agree. And look, 6 months for neck surgery, I think, is incredibly optimistic. There's I hear a lot of UFC commentators talking about the White House card on June 14th, I think that is. Less than 6 months. How is she going to come back from that within 6 months? She already kills her body to cut the weight to get down to the weight class. It's already not natural for her. She's never really had to fight at that weight. So I can't see it. I can't see it happening in the first half of this year. If not, I'd be thinking Q4 is when we'd be expecting to see Kayla and Amanda.
Yep.
By that stage, I think Amanda's 39, 40. Is she going to stay in shape for the rest of this year? I know that, her and Kayla have a bit of history beyond the UFC as well. They're former training partners. So I think you're right. I think Amanda was really keen to take this fight because it is Kayla Harrison. I don't see her going back and fighting. I don't really see her fighting anyone else, if I'm being completely honest. There's been no real talk of a replacement for Amanda on this card. I did hear on Ariel, one of our inspiration, Ariel Hawani's show, that they threw out Amanda Serrano, who's obviously well known in the boxing sphere, but apparently she made herself known that she would be willing to step up on short notice and fight Amanda Nunes.
Give me a spell, Tuckers.
It'd be a slugfest. It'd be fucking gross.
Yeah, but come on. Come on.
Yeah,
we turn into Jake Paul, Mickey Mouse again? Let's just stick with UFC fighters, mate.
Something a bit different, which I quite enjoyed, that little bit of content that Amanda Serrano put out. She got her name out there anyway. So, yeah, look, we're shattered to lose that fight, but reality is 324 is a fantastic card, and I think they really covered themselves well by making the card so deep. Even if you go on to the early prelims, there's a lot of great fighters who are not getting a lot of attention, but I believe they've actually uplifted Natalia Silva and Rose Namajunas onto the main card. But I want to start with Arnold Allen and Jean Silva, which is opening the main card. Well, they're calling it a numbered event now, so it's not a pay-per-view event. It's a numbered event. Arnold Allen, $3.34, taking on Jean Silva, $1.33 favourite. This is one of the people's main events, I would have thought. It's going to be a striking fest, you would think. Jean Silva, from my perspective, I'm not surprised he's such a short favourite. He is super exciting. That fight with Diego Lopez in 2025, I thought it was my pick for fight of the year. He was actually probably winning the fight on a lot of counts, in my opinion. He just got caught with a miraculous spinning elbow by Diego Lopez, and I really think we would be seeing Jean Silva in 2 weeks' time in Sydney if it wasn't for the fact that Diego got him. I think they really wanted that fight to be the next fight for Volk, clearly. I think UFC's got big plans for him. He's exciting, he's flashy, hits like a truck. He's quite young. He's younger than he looks. I think he's in his 20s still. Something me and you can't say, Bally, but he's an exciting prospect for that division. And I think, to be honest, I can really see him holding up the belt in the next year or two. What are your thoughts on this fight?
Yeah, mate, exactly right. Like that. He was so unlucky because he was winning that fight, and it wasn't, for this crazy elbow that knocked him out. He probably wins and goes on to versus Volk. But yeah, he's not known as the Lord Assassin. Apparently, that's his alter ego that his wife gives him, because outside of it, he's very calm and relaxed. And as soon as he gets into the UFC space, he becomes that assassin. So I'm very excited to see him, just because, like I said, he's got great striking. He's a great submission artist. He's currently 16-3. Before he had that loss to Lopez, I think he was on a 7-fight win streak. So yeah, I think he's going to be too classy, and I think Silva gets the chocolates, mate.
Yep, fair call. Moving on, as I touched on, we've got Natalia Silva taking on Rose Namajunas, one of the veterans of the UFC. $1.23 Silva versus Rose, $4.20. So we've got a pretty clear favourite in this one, and I'm not surprised. Natalia Silva, I think, has every prospect of being one of the next champions of the UFC. I think Rose has slowed down quite a lot. She's had some fantastic wins throughout the course of her career. She's a stalwart of the UFC. She's going to be much celebrated for her career. But yeah, I think Natalia Silva is going to take this one home, and I'm not surprised by those odds. And it's a worthy fight to bring up to the main card. I would have thought potentially they would have put Umar Nurmagomedov up onto the main event versus Davison Figueiredo. That's a really exciting fight, and it's got clear title ramifications as well for the bantamweight division.
Yep.
I think Arnold is a very clear next person in line for that title shot versus Jan. If Merab doesn't take that fight against Jan, I think if Umar has won, he's the clear next contender. having said that, we've also got a man named Sugar Sean O'Malley who's fighting on this same card, which we'll get to. But as I touched on, that's probably going to be the featured prelim fight for UFC 324. So that's a really good one. So everyone should get to the pubs and get online early and actually consume that fight, because that's going to be a cracker. But let's jump through. We're going to talk some heavyweights, Paulie. We're going to talk Waldo Cortez Acosta taking on Derek Lewis. We've got Waldo coming in at $1.32 versus Derek Lewis at $3.44. I think that's pretty good odds for heavyweights who can kill each other with one punch. What are your thoughts on this fight, Paulie? What can we expect?
Yeah, mate. I think obviously Aldo coming into it, he's up and coming. He's on a win streak. Where I think the Black Beast, Derek Lewis, he's probably one of my favourite fighters in the UFC. I remember when Joe Rogan asked him why he took his shorts off, and he said, "My balls are hot." So yeah, I just love that he just says it how it is. And he's got serious power in his hands. He's one of the best knockout artists in the UFC. So I think if Derek can land a shot maybe in the first round or two, he's a big chance. But I think Aldo, he's just going to be a bit too fit for him, a bit too smart for him, and I think he just probably wins on a decision or maybe even a knockout.
Yeah, I think Cortez Acosta, he can really swing, but he's super agile for someone of his size. He's a very unique fighter. He's a real problem for the division. Like, he's another one that you could just really see holding up a belt within the next 12 to 24 months. We know that heavyweight division is lacking a bit in terms of next contenders, and I think this is one with the sort of the spectacle of this event, how much attention is going to be on 324.
Yep.
He comes away with a big knockout here. He could be really in line for one of those next title shots, I would have thought. And yeah, look, 344 is worth having a look at for Derek Lewis, because all it's going to take is one shot for him.
100%.
He's going to run at Waldo, I would have thought. I would have thought he's going to get out there very quick.
Yep.
And just start swinging. So for the fans out there, if you're not a diehard rusted on MMA fan, this is one for you to get into, because you are going to see a knockout. I'd nearly put my house on it. So look, it takes us to our co-main events of the evening. We've got one of the most popular figures in all of mixed martial arts, just one of the most popular figures in USA sport at the moment as well. Very well known on social media, very well known to the young demographic. Sugar Sean O'Malley is back. He's coming off back-to-back losses against Merab, which sort of puts him out of that title run for the moment. But now that Merab is not the champion, Sugar Sean walks away with a win here against Song Yadong. There is no reason why they won't look at Sugar Sean O'Malley for that next title shot, in my opinion. We've got Sugar coming in at $1.49 versus Song Yadong at $2.65. I think Sugar's ranked third. I think Yadong's ranked fifth. This is a really worthy co-main event, Paulie.
Yeah, mate, it's spot on. I think Sugar's just thanking the Lord that Pierre Diane beat Merab, because he can't beat Merab. He just can't. So at least now he's back in contention. I think, unfortunately for Sugar, he's probably one of the most overhyped guys in the UFC. I love him for his, he's being flamboyant. He's out there. He does his different coloured hair. He is an amazing striker, but I think he's been found out a little bit. Maybe took his eyes off the sport a little bit. But in saying that, I think he's going to get the job done. I can see a really nice knockout, maybe a little, step back right, overhand right. So I'm hoping he gets the job done, because he's a great character. And yeah, let's bring on for the main event, hopefully, when he gets his chance at Pierre Diane.
Yeah, I think this one is. And there's a lot of talk about the type of fighter that Sugar should have been taking on for his next, or for his comeback fight after fighting Merab. But he's fought a lot of grapplers in the past few years, even going back to Aljo. I think he really was keen for a striking fight, and he was keen for I don't even want to say it's a good matchup, because Song Yadong can bang and he can hit. But the reality is they will probably be standing. But Song can take you down as well. He's quite he's quite a bit shorter, but he's quite stocky. He's quite strong. So I think he will try to take Sugar down, but that height difference, Sugar's got quite a bit of height and reach advantage on him. I think he will be able to catch him. I think that reach is going to be a little bit too much for Song Yadong, but again, Song can knock you out. He's not probably completely known for knocking blokes out, but seeing Sugar if he's still got a chin, if he can still take a punch, is going to be really interesting. I reckon he will cop a few, and I think he's going to get hit in this fight. But ultimately, I think Sugar walks away with it, and I think Sugar is back on the map. And to be honest, I think we see Sugar versus Piotr Jan at the White House, June 14th.
Hey.
I think that's our next title fight in the bantamweight division. So really exciting times. But that brings us to our main event of the evening. It brings us to the main event of UFC 324. This is one that has a lot of ramifications in a lot of different facets. It's probably a fight that we've got some pretty popular guys that are fighting, but they actually don't really have any beef with each other. So it's probably not drawing a lot of attention to the nastiness behind these two guys. But we have got Paddy the Batty Pimblett, one of the most popular fighters in the UFC. He's got the city of Liverpool behind him, all of the UK behind him, coming in as a $1.41 favourite against Justin Gaethje, one of the most popular and violent fighters that we've ever seen in the UFC. $2.85, which again, I'm looking at that thing and that's great value. This is again a stylistic matchup dream, because you got Paddy, who is known for being a really strong grappler and a really strong wrestler, but we saw that he can really strike against Michael Chandler as well. But Justin Gaethje's just been doing this for so long. There's a lot of talk about the fact that he struggles against the grapplers like Charles Oliveira or Islam Makhachev, but the reality, or Khabib I should say rather than Islam, but the reality is they're two of the best that we have ever seen in this sport in terms of grappling. Not sure that Paddy's at that level yet. I'm not sure he's quite had a challenge like Justin Gaethje yet either. He's had some great fights and some great wins. He's got momentum behind him. He's never lost in the UFC. Some people would say he lost against Jared Gordon, but hasn't lost within the UFC. He's timed his run really well in terms of the types of fighters that he's taking on. Some would say he's had a sort of generous title run to the rankings that he's at the moment, but I look at $2.85 for Justin Gaethje and I see real good value and I see real good opportunity. My money is on Justin at this point in time. I think he's going to he's going to do what he always does. He's going to come out and try and take out Paddy's legs. He's going to try and be really strategic and not get taken down to ground, because Justin can wrestle. People forget that because he's such an exciting striker, but he can wrestle. So I think he's going to try and keep it on the feet, take out Paddy's legs, and I can see him catching him.
Yeah, interesting, Tuckers. I think you're not far off. I think, Justin Gaethje's been that guy that the UFC, is almost like cringed at, because they're trying to make these amazing matchups. They're trying to do Paddy versus Ilya. There's all that tension, and I think Gaethje could be the man that wrecks it again. He's done it in the past, and I think he'll do it again. But I just love my boy Paddy the Buddy. You're doing nothing. He thinks he's Conor McGregor, a version of it. But I love when he's just the banter, when he's calling Ilya Topuria, you're a little sausage, and then he even turns it into you're a chorizo. I just love his personality. I think he has probably got a little bit of a gifted run to get a title shot, but he's good for the sport. He's amazing submission artist. He's going to be he's going to be all over him. It's just whether, I don't know, his experience going to be one step too far for Paddy. But I'd love Paddy to win, but a bit like you, mate. No, screw it. No, I'm going Paddy. I'm going against you. Paddy by TKO submission.
TKO or submission, that's your pick?
That's my pick. Right. That's my pick.
Look, I wouldn't be surprised. And, it's just going to be one of those fights where you are guaranteed to see action. I think we'll see a finish. My tip's going to be Gaethje by KO. I could see him catching him with a knee or a kick to the head, potentially. So that's going to be my pick. But, like you touched on, the rivalries outside of this fight are what's really interesting, because you got Paddy v Ilya, but then there's also been Paddy v Arman has popped up recently as well. Further that, if Justin Gaethje wins, why wouldn't you make Paddy v Dan Hooker, who have been going at it on Twitter and Instagram over the past few weeks? That's another great fight, and probably one that's very favourable for Paddy the Batty as well. So I can see a world where that happens. Justin holds up the interim title once again. That'll be interesting. It's a bit of a mirrored image to Dustin Poirier's career, really. But I'd love to see Gaethje. I would like to see him get one more crack at the belt. I can't see him holding up the undisputed championship belt at any point. I just don't think he's gonna. I don't think he's gonna beat an Ilya. the only way he'd obviously get it is if Ilya vacates that belt. But yeah, awesome card, awesome main event.
Unreal.
Where are we watching, Bally? We're going to the pub. We're obviously not getting over to Vegas. So where are we watching next Sunday?
Nah, unfortunately the wallet's a little bit light at the moment. So yeah, we're going to be at our favourite joint, which is obviously the Sporting Globe in Richmond. Up on the top there, on the rooftop, we have a big table. We'll get everyone around it. It's going to be awesome. We'll get the Palmers in, the beers in, and hopefully have a few laughs. And yeah, I think I'm just full Paddy the Batty now. Now that you're going to Gaethje, I just want to see your face when my boy Paddy does a little tea bag or something on Gaethje. So it should be awesome, and hopefully everyone can get down to the pub and join us.
Beautiful, mate, beautiful. Well, look, we've got a couple more items with regards to the UFC to go, but look, I'll just quickly touch on the fact that, yeah, we're into a new year now, obviously. 2025 has come and gone. It was a bit of an indifferent year for the UFC. I think we had the belt change. We had 11 belts change hands last year, which is something that you don't often see. So what we're finding at the moment is with a lot of our top contenders and a lot of our champions that a lot of them are new, which presents a lot of new opportunities for great fights this year, Bally. I think I asked you before this podcast started, what are the fights that you want to see this year in 2026? Give me your top three. They can be realistic, they can be imaginary, or sort of high level dreams that you have, but what are the three that you want to see this year?
I think there's probably a couple. I've probably got, obviously, John Jones versus Alex Pereira. I just think two absolute monsters. That doesn't even need to be a title fight. It can just be two Goliaths going at it. Ideally, I don't know what's going to happen, but John Jones versus Aspinall. Aspinall's clearly the best heavyweight in the UFC. Obviously, injuries maybe going to stop that. Obviously, there's so many good fights. I think I'd love to see Conor again. I know everyone's off him and they think he's never coming back, but I'd love to see Conor Chandler, Conor Diaz, something like that. Just something where he can actually stand a chance, maybe. Yeah, obviously my big one's probably Paddy versus Ilya Topuria. I think the press conference alone is just going to be box office. It'll be like the old Conor McGregor days, and I think there's pure hatred there. And I'd love to see Ilya Topuria just land one right on the Liverpoolian's chin. What about you, Tuckers?
Yeah, look, they're good choices, and I can't argue with them. But look, for me, I'm going to go with the Ilya front as well. But I am of the opinion him v Islam Makhachev is the fight we missed out on last year. Yep. That is one that I just cannot for the life of me understand why they didn't make that fight. It sounds like Ilya's going to have to go up to welterweight to take him on. I'm willing to see it. I'm willing to see Ilya put on that size to go up and fight Islam. I think that's just about the biggest fight you can make this year, maybe outside of John Jones and Pereira, which you touched on, but that's a really exciting one. You touched on our boy, the big you got this boy up here that you want to see back. I saw some whispers going around on Twitter the last few days that, I don't know if you saw this, Jorge Masvidal is the rumoured new contender for Conor. They ruled out Michael Chandler. He's sort of last in line to be fighting him, it sounds like now. But Jorge Masvidal versus Conor, it's obviously a pretty favourable matchup for Conor as well. You've got another guy who's been out for a few years, probably of similar age, both strikers. That's a pretty cool fight if they can make that. So
for sure,
that's another one. If I'm going a purist and a really high level fight that I'd love to see happen this year, I'd be really excited to see Merab and Piotr Yan again. That was a great fight, one of the fights of the year in 2025. I would also love to see Pantoja Joshua Van get the actual fight we deserve for that, because Josh Van's proven that he's the real deal. He's a worthy title holder. Didn't win it in the way he would have wanted to, right? And it wasn't a great way to round out 2025, but that's a fight with a lot of heat on it, a really good one and a really good matchup, which I hope we see in 2026. So
for sure.
Big year ahead. As I touched on at the top of the show, we do have a new broadcast rights holder with regards to the UFC. So ESPN is no longer covering the sport with regards to the USA or Australia. We've got Paramount Plus, who are now the rights holders of the sport. In Australia, it's a bit of a different one. We have a bit of a difference of opinion of this one, Bally, but I feel like we've been left in the lurch a little bit in terms of the UFC's planning and thinking. I think you always had to go to 3 separate platforms to watch the UFC with ESPN as well, but for now, if you want to watch the early prelims, you've got to go on UFC Fight Pass. If you want to watch the prelims, you've got to be on Paramount Plus, and for God knows what events, Channel 10 are going to air them as well. But other than that, you got to buy the fight still. KO on main event.
Yeah.
So all this talk about Dana and Hunter Campbell, solving the pay-per-view crisis, the cost of living crisis, we've still got to pay for the fights down here. Make that what you will, Bolly. What do you reckon?
Yeah, well, I'm a little bit on the other side of the spectrum. I think, obviously, as you outlined, it's a bit of a nightmare with having to get, different streamers and still paying for main event and everything like that. But as you can see here, I obviously put up the graph, that you now, when you go on to Paramount Plus, you're going to be opening up and you're going to be seeing a catalogue of fights. You're going to be seeing the weigh-in, the press conference, the post-fight. It's just going to make it really easy and simple for either casuals or people like us that just love it to really get involved and watch it all. In the past, I've had to go on YouTube and I've had to, find something on Facebook or, something on Twitter. Well, now it's all there. It looks incredible. You can scroll straight through the menu. So I think that's really going to help building the fighting fans. But I do agree it's a bit of a nightmare with how we're going to watch it. But I guess for us, it doesn't matter too much because we're at the pub for all the big main events anyway. Yeah,
that's right. And look, the only thing that I hope with regards to the UFC, and I guess one of the reasons we've fallen in love with the sport over the years and over the probably past 5 or 6 years, is that what they have always done so well is the storytelling and the content they produce in line with the sport. So that's something I hope we don't lose. And what gave me actually a lot of confidence was that little clip they put out over the past couple of days with regards to the Paddy and Justin fight. Production looked really high level. They actually haven't done a produced piece like that I've seen in the past couple of years. So gave me a little bit of optimism that they are sort of taking it seriously and understanding that there's a really new wide world of audience that they're going to be touching with Paramount Plus. So yeah, here's hoping that we don't lose that, because that's what's gotten a lot of us into this sport. But all right, Aaron, we've spent a lot of time today talking about UFC, Australian combat sports, obviously. Combat sports in general is a bigger part, is a really big part of what this podcast and this show is going to be about. The world of boxing, there's been a lot going on recently. We've had new broadcast rights partners come to the party with regards to Netflix. We've had the great Jake Paul bringing his mark to the sport and bringing a lot of eyeballs to it, much to the dissatisfaction of a lot of boxing fans, including yourself, I know. You got Zuffa Boxing entering the market shortly, which is Dana White led. We've had some really big fights from some big heavyweights over the past few years. And on the home scene, we've had some action in the past few days as well, Aaron, which I know you got some thoughts on. Give me the rundown. What are your thoughts on Australian boxing right now?
Tucker bags. It's time to throw some shade. Michael Pretty Boy Sarafa, this is going to you, mate. You have been ducking the Zoo family for years. You finally get your opportunity. You've been talking all this trash, and what do? You get a slight little knock, little headbutt, accidental, a tiny little cut on your eye. Mate, I've had bigger cuts when I shave, mate. That was pathetic. The fact that you decided to say that you couldn't see was an embarrassment to you, and it's an absolute disaster for the sport of boxing. What about the people that paid $70 to watch that? That was a joke. I was at the pub with the boys and you ended our night early. It was a stinker, mate. So, you know what? The only thing you're going to be boxing up, mate, is you're going to be boxing up Happy Meals at McDonald's, mate. Your career, it's done. Over. Take it. You want fries with that? No, I don't, mate. Horrendous, Michael Zarafa. We don't want to see you anymore. See you later, Champo.
Wow. Whack. Gee whiz. I had this vision that we might be able to get Michael Zarafa on this show at some point this year, but I'm fairly certain that will never happen now. So, yeah, that's a bit of a taste of what's to come with regards to throwing shade, isn't it? But, yeah, look, combat sports is a real big one for us. Clearly, there's plenty of other things going on in the world of sports as well. We are trialling some new segments, Bally. We're going to touch on lots of different topics on this show, but let's stick to our bread and butter for the moment, which is sport. And we've got a little case of ball sports, which I know you want to touch on at the moment. What's going on in the world of sports at the moment? And let's introduce the first segment and first edition of Ball Sports, Aaron.
Thanks, Tuckers. Yes, Ball Sports. We're going to be getting you up to date with everything that's happening in the sporting world. It's not just UFC and MMA. So kicking us off, the Australian Open's just started. So obviously one of the biggest events in Melbourne. We've got Yannick Sinner, who's going to be the favourite at $1.83. My tip, though, is my boy Alcaraz. I think the way he hits his forehand from the back court, I think he's going to really challenge a lot of people. So it's going to be very exciting. I've been to the Australian Open many times. I've worked there, so definitely if you can get there, it's an amazing event. Next one we're going to look at, we're just going to touch on the NFL world. So all you big NFL guys out there, we're obviously coming up to the playoff, it's currently playoff time. So obviously there's probably 4 or 5 teams that are in the running to win it. We've got the favourites of the Seahawks at the moment, but I actually quite like the Rams. So we're going to be talking a bit of NFL. So all you NFL nuffies, you're going to get your fix. And then footy. How can we forget footy? It's only less than 2 months away. My beautiful Collingwood Magpies looking good, burning up the track. Essendon looking terrible. Injuries galore. I'm so excited, and there's going to be plenty more updates in ball sports. But that will just get you just get us started, hey?
Beautiful, Aaron. Beautiful. Great start. Well, look, I think that's brought us to the end of episode 1, Aaron.
Sorry, Tuckers. You've forgotten about the Shade Multi. The Shade Multi.
You were meant to lead into that from ball sports, Aaron. So,
all right. Well,
part of our show, guys, and clearly you can see there's an element of our interest in sports betting. We're going to touch on odds for mixed martial arts. The ball sports segment's going to introduce odds as well, and part of that is going to lead into a multi that we're going to run each time that we run one of these episodes as well. So it's running swimmingly at the moment, Aaron. What have we got for the multi this week?
Mate, I told you I'm creative. I've got numbers going in my head. I'm up, I'm down. This is just the first episode. Just let me get used to it. All right. All right. So the Shade Multi for this week, ladies and gentlemen. As I said off the top, Paddy, I love him for either submission or KO, so we're going to offer Paddy at $1.75 to win by sub or KO. Silver, as mentioned before, I think he's a class above, so Silver just straight out result, $1.33. Arsenal, the Gunners, they're on fire at the moment, up against Manchester United. I think the Gunners get it done, $1.57, so not bad value. And then Sugar Sean, I think he's just going to, like I said, probably be too tall, too strong, too much reach, and I think he's going to land one on, what's her name's chin, Song Dong, and that's paying $1.49. So if we wrap it all up, the multi will pay $5.45, which I think is not bad to, obviously gamble responsibly, but not bad to have a little flutter on. And we're going to probably start bringing in some punishments as well, Tuckers. So I hope you're ready for your Shade Multi next episode.
I was about to ask, mate. Yeah, what are you doing if you don't come off with this multi? What you got any ideas? Any thoughts? What's the challenge you can do?
Oh, Tuckers, you name it, I'll do it. I'm happy if the multi doesn't get up. I'll come dressed in an Essendon scarf to the next episode, which will actually kill me because I would never wear that horrible colour on my body.
All right, that's just a dip in the toe in the waters of what these punishments are going to look like. But are we there now? Have I forgotten anything, Aaron?
No, you're all good, mate.
Cool. Well, look, I think that brings us to the conclusion of episode 1 of the Throwing Shade podcast, Aaron. Safe to say about our ups and downs throughout the recording of this episode. There's been a few glitches, but look, we're there. I just can't believe, we've actually gone through an episode. This is the real deal. No more trials. We're into it. We're talking sport. We're talking some lifestyle stuff. Hopefully the audience is getting to know a little bit about us. Yep. Thank you to everyone who is so far consuming our content, the followers that have jumped on the journey for Instagram so far, YouTube, TikTok. It's really appreciated. And any good podcast needs engaged audiences and engaged listeners. So please keep viewing our content. Please tune in and please listen. If you can, we would really love you to subscribe to our YouTube channel. That's where a lot of our content that we're producing at the moment is going. So you'll find us on YouTube at Throwing Shade Pod. You'll also find us on Instagram at Throwing Shade Pod. You'll find us on TikTok at Throwing Shade Pod. You'll see that all listed here. You're going to see us on other social media platforms in the near future as well. But we're a podcast, so the main places you'll find us are YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever you get your podcasts from, we will be there. Aaron, anything you want to round out and say to the audience before we wrap up?
I think you've summed up well, Tuckers. Once again, thank you, everyone. We're almost at 150 followers, which doesn't sound like much, but for a first podcast, we really appreciate all the support. If you can share it on your Instagram stories, post it wherever you can. We'd love that. We're looking forward to bringing you plenty more episodes. Hopefully, we're not going to get any worse. I think we're only up from here, Tuckers. There's been a few little glitches, but very excited, and it's going to be a lot of fun, and come along for the ride.
I think we did all right. And just the last thing I'll just say is that any partners, potential sponsors, any guests who would like to be a part of our show, please DM us on Instagram at Throwing Shade Pod. That's the best place to reach us for the time being. We monitor it daily. Yeah, we'd love to work with anyone who wants to be a part of this journey. But that's it for us for today. Episode 1 is in the books. Well done, Aaron. I'm not going to stop clapping. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in. Thank you for watching, and we will see you soon.
Cheers, guys.